rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
All right, welcome to this Monday edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Man, I've got so much to talk about. It is unbelievable. There's all types of news that I would like to get to, as well as break down something that's just absolutely disgusting that's happening around the country with school boards and with politicians, where right now, actually in the state of Virginia, parents may face a felony child abuse charges for disagreeing with kids' gender identity. But the AG there is vowing to fight back. We'll get to that. But first, there was a story that surfaced over the weekend that I think we really need to be concerned about, and that's with Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping has issued a very dark and ominous warning against Taiwan. This is scary. The world has slipped into a very dark and scary place with Biden at the helm. I do have some good news for you in this podcast that I'll share with you, and that is the generic congressional ballot. I'm telling you right now, Republicans appear to be surging. Listen, we still have about 3 weeks or so before the elections. We all know that is a long time in politics, but things aren't going well for the Democrat Party. As a matter of fact, in the state of New York, the governor's race between Lee Zeldin and Kathy Hochul has just been called or labeled a toss-up this weekend. So please, let's take advantage of this election year. Donate to Lee Zeldin. Let's make sure there are some upsets, some resounding upsets that the Democrats have to cry uncle about, and they run away from a lot of these woke policies that are absolutely dividing this nation. Not to mention the economy, which we will get to shortly, and we've got a clip for you that Gabe has lined up. Also, Elon Musk, something that I'll get to and speak about briefly here. Elon Musk says the hell with it. He's changing course on the Starlink decision that he made with Ukraine. We'll talk about that. But first, let's do this. Let's go to this clip of this is the selected president of the United States, Joe Biden. And I want you to understand that this is how the left feels. This is how they feel about you. And later, I'm going to show in some of the new congressional ballot polling, or the generic ballot polling. I'm going to prove my point. But I want you to understand that the left is not concerned about the economy. They are not. I mean, they are as far as the midterm elections are concerned. They want to get reelected, but they really don't care if your finances are go to hell in a handbasket or not. They really do not care. I think this clip with Joe Biden proves it. The problem with Joe Biden, and the reason why I actually love him getting closer to the election season is, and I understand why Democrats don't want him anywhere around, the guy constantly says what he means. I think that's the problem with his dementia. He says what he means. He says what the Democrats believe. And he's letting the cat out the bag, essentially. But here's an audio clip of Joe Biden saying that our economy is strong as hell. Here it is.
Are you concerned about the strength of the dollar right now?
I'm not concerned about the strength of the dollar. I'm concerned about the rest of the world. Does that make sense?
Can you explain that?
Yes. Our economy is strong as hell. The internal. Inflation is worldwide. It's worse off everywhere else than it is in the United States. So the problem is the lack of economic growth, sound policy in other countries, not so much ours. And that's it's worldwide inflation. It's consequential.
You're giving a speech next over here.
Look, that guy's gone. Look at him eating that ice cream to try to enhance his sensories in his mind, his ability to be able to think and speak. I don't know if this is true or not, but it would make sense. He eats a lot of ice cream. My understanding is that if you have dementia, one of the things that helps you to think and all that kind of stuff is just eating some cold, sweet ice cream. I don't know if that's true or not, but it would totally make sense in Joe Biden's case. But nonetheless, that's just pure speculation on my part. But the fact of the matter is, he thinks the economy is strong as hell. Now, do you think the economy is strong as hell? When you are paying high gas prices, higher food prices, everything costs more. The cost, if you want to buy a new car, if you want to buy a used car, oh my God, the prices are so high, it's insane. You may as well keep your old vehicle and run that thing into the ground. Frankly, I do that anyway, but many of you do not. The cost of rent in just the month of September, I believe rent surged over but somewhere between 7 to 8% in the month of September, I believe it was alone. This is absolutely insane. The economy is going extremely poorly, and we know that to be true. Everyone's feeling it. The left can't lie about this, but they simply don't care. They simply do not care. See, their agenda, the left's agenda, the Democrat Party's agenda, make no mistake about it, that Biden is the face of it, but these are Barack Obama's policies. These are all the Democrats in Congress. These, the policies that we are experiencing are the policies that they want. They voted for them. They didn't. You mean to tell me that they didn't understand that voting for the American Rescue Plan, $1.9 trillion in debt, a stimulus package, $1.2 trillion. They just recently spent another $700-something billion. I mean, these people are spending us into oblivion. The value of the dollar is constantly decreasing the more these people spend money. And this guy is arguing that the economy is strong as hell. Guys, why don't you prove to him on November 8th that the economy isn't strong as hell, but your fortitude to get rid of this guy, which won't happen this year, but to get rid of this Democrat Congress that has been spending you into oblivion and making your dollar weaker and weaker, make sure you kick their behinds out. There's something that I want you to be aware about, but to be aware of, and that is China. But before we go there, let me please remind you to subscribe to our podcast everywhere podcasts are found. Some of the easiest places: SalemPodcastNetwork.com, TheCarlJacksonShow.com, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Social media, The Carl Jackson Show on social media. Please follow me on Getter. Please follow me on Truth Social. Guys, I want to see more of you on Truth Social. Please follow me there. I don't have my picture up there. I got to put my picture up there. Maybe that's making people feel weirded out, or they're not sure that it's me. But if you see a blank space, blank circle that says The Carl Jackson Show, that is me. Also, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. Follow me on all the OG places as well, The Carl Jackson Show. And don't forget our friends at MyPillow, particularly Mike Lindell, the juggernaut that he is, the guy that has created lots of jobs in Minnesota at MyPillow. Or in Minnesota at MyPillow. I mean, just a fascinating company, American jobs, American manufacturing. Please support Mike Lindell. Right now, we still have the Giza Dream Sheets that are still available while supplies last. You still have the Percale bed sheets while supplies last. You use my promo code, use the name Carl, and you can get those on special for as low as $29.98. They come in a variety of sizes and colors. And don't forget to take advantage of the 3-piece towel set as well. You get a bath towel, a washcloth. You get 3 towels. All right, normally sell for $49.99, but they're $19.98 if you use my promo code Carl. You can give them a call at 1-800-858-0263. 1-800-858-0263, or just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, use the promo code Carl. All right, let's go to China. So China's Xi issues dark warning on Taiwan as he prepares to consolidate power over the CCP. Oh, and don't let me forget, Gabe, to get to Anthony Fauci, something that I got to remember about Anthony Fauci, because he was in the news or on the tip sheet as well today. And very important that we speak about it. But I want you to be aware of what's going on in the news. I want you to be aware of how our enemies are aligning against us with this weakling in the White House. So here's a summary. Chinese Hatip Daily Wire. Chinese leader Xi Jinping posed to seize a third term in full control of his nation. This signaled a pending move on Taiwan. He did a victory lap over Beijing's defeat of Hong Kong's democracy aspirations and vowed to defeat COVID-19. This was in a speech on Sunday. Xi became head of the CCP 10 years ago now. At the party's 20th Congress, it became clear that he intends to be the lifetime leader. It's getting pretty scary. He embraced this muscular government is on a collision course, or he basically implied that his government is on a collision course with the West and Taiwan, the West, our NATO allies, and us, obviously, the United States of America. Here's what Xi said, and I quote, "The wheels of history are rolling towards China's reunification and the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation." Man, this guy is so brave when we have such a weakling that's chewing on ice cream and lying to the American people and saying the economy is strong as hell. He goes on to say, Xi does, and let me just read it over. "The wheels of history are rolling on towards China's reunification and the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Complete reunification of our country must be realized." Wow. That's scary. By the way, just something before I go on. Biden totally lied in that clip as well. When it comes to inflation, guys, remember that we performed horribly. The United States did compared to our counterparts, even some of those in NATO and around the world of recovering from COVID, our finances, our economy, because we kept these lockdowns going too long. So there are other nation states that fared far better than we did. Now, economically, obviously, we're still the juggernaut, but China is nipping at our heels, and things are getting very scary. So China has become increasingly alienated by the West. And this is getting concerned. Z referred to rapid changes in the international situation, which made him say, listen, I'm not playing here. I'm not playing here. He sees Taiwan as his third challenge. And guys, I have to tell you, after reading about Taiwan and their preparedness for China, let's put it this way. It's an uphill battle. You have people in Taiwan whose military, you have guys that don't want to be in the military more than a few months or several months at a time. They have a real problem there. They don't have the weaponry that they need. I don't know that they have the will to fight as much as they would let on. I just simply don't believe that. Logistically, what's going to happen if the United States travels or sends troops to Taiwan to defend Taiwan? Honestly, and do we want to be stretched that thin? I want to protect Taiwan. That is a very strategic place for the United States. But all of this stuff with a weak leader, let's put it this way. If China wants Taiwan, I contend they'll have Taiwan. And they want Taiwan. The consequence for having Biden in the White House has been dire. It's been deadly dangerous to many people all over the world, and I fear that it'll continue. Again, you have Z proclaiming victory over Hong Kong's independence movement. This guy proclaimed victory over COVID-19. Now, COVID-19, the lockdowns there are severe. They're not like they are here. They are severe. Remember what they did to what was it? Where was that? They literally locked the whole freaking city down in China, where people were stuck in their apartment rooms, homes, whatever they are, couldn't even go to work. People were starving to death. They were killing their pets. Man, they don't play out there. That's what the Chinese Communist Party does. That's what communism is. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable where we're at. Here's a speech. Let me read this. The speech was delivered inside Beijing's, Xi Jinping's speech, by the way, was delivered inside Beijing's Great Hall of People to 2,300 of the CCP's most powerful members. Kind of sounds like the Democrat Party. That's where the Democrat Party wants to be. Where Xi is, where the Communist Party is strong, that's what the Democrat Party wants. They want a strong communist-like government where only the top elites are in charge, and the rest of the peons, we better get to the program, or God knows we'll disappear. We'll be jailed, just like the January 6th protesters. Here's a quote from Xi about taking Taiwan by force if necessary. He says, and I quote, "We will never promise to renounce the use of force, and we reserve the option of taking all measures necessary," close quote. Now, China's invasion of Taiwan seems imminent. China has been silent on the Russia-Ukraine war, and experts have speculated that both China and Russia, have a deal to back each other. Taiwan, as you know, is the world's top manufacturer of chips. So if they are attacked, and I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when, we're going to be hurting for certain if we don't get our manufacturing base, our critical manufacturing base, like computer chips, up and running in the United States. I know that we're getting this stuff going, but time is of the essence. Time is of the essence. This is really scary stuff, because this will put the United States in a very, very dangerous position. As a matter of fact, which is what the Chinese government wants, we would be at the mercy of Chinese technology, right? If they overtake Taiwan, we're at the mercy of Chinese technology at this point. So while the West is including the use, that are demanding that the U.S. focuses on wokeness, here's what China is working on. China wants to focus on education. And when I say education, I mean they are popping out engineers like nobody's business. They understand real infrastructure. They want economic growth and they want a strong military. Meanwhile, what we want to do is make sure that our boys believe that they can be girls and little girls believe that they can be boys. That's what we're working on in the United States while they're working on education, economic growth, and a stronger military. And we are seriously hollowing out our military. Guys, I got to tell you, I went to a fabulous speech by Lieutenant Colonel Scheller. He put on just a wonderful speech, both he and his parents, but his speech in particular was just amazing, talking about and I got to give the East Seminole Republican Club, just a shout out. Karen Stevens did a fabulous job putting that event together. But Stephen Scheller talked about, or Lieutenant Colonel Stu Scheller, talked about his experience in the military. Remember, this is the gentleman that stood up against his commanders in the military, and he was sentenced to jail. He spent 9 days in jail. He lost absolutely everything, and when I say everything, he lost absolutely everything, including family. But he talked about the crisis in command. As a matter of fact, his book is titled as such. And I'm telling you, you read this guy's book or you listen to this guy speak. I'm of the opinion now that I don't want the U.S. to get involved in any conflict unless it is, it is clear and defined. It's in America's best interest. I want our Congress to vote on it. And before all of that occurs, I want all of the current generals that are in place in our military across the board. I want them gone. I want them fired. There is a serious crisis of command happening inside of our military where we don't fight to win wars anymore, going all the way back to World War II. And this is scary because the rest of the world isn't playing like this. They see that America is weak. They see that America is woke. Wokeness is weakness. They're going to take advantage of it. So if Xi is made the lifetime leader of China, he will be their strongest leader since Mao Zedong. That is very, very scary. And another piece of news, Elon Musk says the hell with it. He reverses course on the Starlink decision in Ukraine. Here's a summary from Daily Wire. SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk reversed course Saturday on continuing to provide Ukraine with free Starlink satellite services in their war against invading Russian forces. Musk said this on Friday, that he had decided to follow the recommendation of a Ukrainian diplomat who told him to F off, which came in response to Musk proposing a peace deal to end Russia's war in Ukraine by saying that SpaceX would no longer fund its Starlink satellite internet terminals in Ukraine for free. Now, Musk got a lot of pushback online from pro-Ukraine activists, but there's no doubt that none of these people are paying the $80 million or have paid for the $80 million that it's cost to service Ukraine at this point, and $100 million if they stay there till the end of the year that it costs. But a lot of these pro-Ukraine activists are pushing back. Listen, I was willing to help Ukraine. I thought there was a better strategy that should have been employed. We should have front-loaded Ukraine with the weaponry we needed. We should have shut our mouths. We should have been quiet, and we should have let them have their fight. Or if we would have front-loaded Ukraine with the weaponry that they needed, instead of Biden and the Democrats and all these people, even Republicans, I'm sure, getting rich off of these billions and billions and billions of dollars that are endlessly going to Ukraine, I don't think Putin would have ever invaded Ukraine. There's no doubt that if Trump was in charge, Putin would have never invaded Ukraine. Carl, how can you say that? Because he didn't for 4 freaking years. He didn't. Now, here's a quote from Musk. The hell with it, he says. Even though Starlink is still losing money and other companies are getting billions of taxpayer money, we'll just keep funding Ukraine government for free. So these people feel entitled. The people of Ukraine, all these little activists, these little woke activists, even Republicans. And I did at one point. Listen, I understand that Ukraine is a buffer between our NATO allies. I understand that we wanted to keep those grounds neutral. I completely get that. But we just acted too late. Biden acted too late. And now what they're doing is using Ukraine as a way, the Democrats are, as a way to get elected. And a lot of people hate Zelensky. Listen, I don't blame Zelensky. I really don't. I understand that the Ukrainian government is corrupt as all get out. I totally get that. But if you're fighting for your country, whether your country's existence I mean, and Russia is an existential threat to Ukraine. So if you're fighting, I don't care. I'm going to act like an actor. I'm going to, if America is idiot, dumb enough to keep giving me money, all this money, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. But what they should have been giving Ukraine is just the weaponry, putting the weaponry there. We didn't do that. Made all the excuses in the world not to do that. And now we're in this proxy war against Russia. It's absolutely unbelievable to me. And yet they want Musk to continue to fund his Starlink satellite services for free. This guy shouldn't have opened his pie hole. They were getting the Starlink services for absolutely free. The DoD is handing out all types of money to all these other companies that are making billions and billions of dollars. Elon Musk, which no doubt help the Ukrainians in their fight against Russians and help the Ukrainians push back against Russia by having their communications. I mean, because Russia had basically destroyed their communications. So this Starlink service is absolutely vital for the war in Ukraine. And again, SpaceX's director of government sales alerted the Pentagon that they could no longer afford this stuff. $80 million, free money. It'll cost $100 million by the end of the year. If this thing goes on for another year, it could cost upwards of $400 million, they say. Now, all this because Musk polled about a truce between Russia and Ukraine, where he said, listen, this is what should happen. He did a poll on Twitter, right, on his peace plan. These were the 4 components. He said, let's redo the elections of annexed regions under UN supervision. Totally agree with that. That would go nowhere. Russia wouldn't agree to that, and I don't trust the UN, but Elon Musk apparently does. So redo elections of annexed regions under UN supervision. Russia leaves if that is the will of the people. All right, that's number 1. Okay, Putin will never go for that. Number 2, Crimea, formerly part of Russia, as it has been since 1783 until Khrushchev's mistake, he says. All right, so Russia would keep Crimea. Water supply to Crimea assured, he said, and then Ukraine remains neutral. All right. So that was that was his idea of a peace treaty between Russia and Ukraine. All in all, I don't think it's bad. The only problem is with Ukraine, you would have to leave them armed so that they could protect themselves. All right, against another potential invasion. And what we promised to do, America promised to do, a lot of people no longer talk about this, but as idiots, what we promised to do is protect Ukraine. We asked them to give up their nuclear weapons, and in return, we would protect them in the case of an invasion. So that's in part what we're doing. Agree. Yeah, you can dislike it all you want, but in part, that's what we're doing. So again, this guy is screwed up with Elon Musk, telling Elon Musk to F off. And now he apparently is getting his wish unless the DoD ponies up. There was some back and forth with the Ukrainian journalist, not in a bad way. This was just a Ukrainian journalist that responded to Friday's news by writing to Elon Musk. And she quotes, Elon Musk Starlink says it can no longer afford to give Ukraine a free service and asked the Pentagon to pay for it. Starlink had been a game changer in the war. This comes days after Ukrainian ambassador Milan Andrzej told Musk to F off. I'm assuming this is a female that wrote this. I don't know. Musk replied, we're just following his recommendation. So next time, Ukrainian official, think before you speak. Now, I do want to give you, actually, let me cover this story, and then I want to close out with some good news because I think that's very important. Oh, actually, I have this story too. Fauci. Oh my God, I can't stand that fool, Fauci. Fauci basically said that he didn't have anything to do with, let me just read this. Fauci on school closures during pandemic, he said, I had nothing to do with it. What a liar. So from the National Review, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who recently announced he would be leaving his government post as White House chief medical advisor, claimed innocence on the fallout from school shutdowns, namely dramatic learning loss among K through 12 students. In an interview that aired on Sunday, the nation's chief immunologist denied that he had any responsibility in driving the public health consensus that schools should have discontinued in-person instruction for many months on end as a COVID-19 mitigation measure. But however, as late as September 2020, Fauci recommended that schools only open back up once the virus is, quote, under control, close quote. This is what he told CNN. He also pushed back and said, let's not pretend that the virus, I'm paraphrasing, that the virus wasn't dangerous for kids. I mean, after all, 1,500 kids died because of COVID. Guys, we have a population of over 330 million people. I'm not trying to minimize anyone's death, right? Because we know that parents are seriously grieving the loss of their children, 1,500 children. What we also know is that those children more than likely had comorbidities. Either they were overweight, asthma, some type of other condition that in conjunction with COVID caused them to die. This is what the research has shown. This is what we know. And so to destroy the educational system, the entire educational K through 12 educational system for 1,500 kids, and again, not minimizing the death of these children, was just stupid. Is just stupid. Now our kids are years behind. In some areas, they predict kids will never make up ground, particularly if you go to, if you live in an urban area where you don't necessarily have the greatest teachers. And it isn't about money. If you got a bunch of woke teachers that aren't teaching you how to read, write, and do arithmetic, or if you have teachers that aren't necessarily bright themselves, and it happens far too often, then kids aren't going to learn. Listen, I went to school in the hood, and we had some good teachers, both black, white, Latino. We had some good teachers that wanted to make sure that we could get up out of the hood if we applied ourselves. So they exist. It isn't always necessarily a money problem. All right, now here's something that's another story that's really crazy. But again, just to reiterate, Fauci, I can't wait for him to go bye-bye. And I do believe that this guy should be in handcuffs. I don't say that lightly. I don't say that to be hyperbolic. This is a guy that did serious damage to the United States of America. He and Deborah Birx, and I think they lied to the American people. They lied to President Trump. Fauci was trying to cover his behind in some emails that were discovered in 2020 or 2021. Or actually, his emails were written in 2020, early 2020, and I believe maybe late 2019, where he was clearly covering his behind because of the gain of function research that was going on in the Wuhan lab, trying to distance himself from it, the little punk behind liar. All right. In another piece of news, a Daily Signal, parents may face felony child abuse charges for disagreeing with kids' gender identity. I mean, this is, guys, they are after our kids. Do you understand that the left, the people that are down for infanticide, I mean, they don't care. A mother could give birth to a child. The child could come out, the parents could name the child, and the left would still want to kill the child. I mean, that's how far the left has gone. They have come wide out for infanticide. They are in for infanticide. Now, they want to, in Virginia, they want to make sure that parents face felony charges if they tell their kids, if they don't affirm their kids' gender identity. Virginia's Republican Attorney General had tipped Daily Signal. Jason Mayoris is vowing to protect parental rights after a Democrat in the State House of Delegates voiced support for a bill to criminalize a parent's disagreement with his or her child's stated gender identity. Unbelievable. Virginia's Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin announced a new policy last month, putting parents in the driver's seat when it comes to transgender ideology or identity. Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, a leftist, a radical, a horrible, despicable human being that supports infanticide, no doubt, responded to Youngkin's plan with a pledge to weaponize laws against child abuse. Here's what the evil woman by the name of Elizabeth Guzman said. She says, the day that Governor Youngkin wanted to implement this policy, I immediately texted the policy lead of that committee and said, this is how we're going to push back. So Guzman says she plans to reintroduce a bill in Richmond that aims to protect children who identify as LGBTQ from their parents and guardians. If their caretakers do not accept their child's sexual orientation or gender identity, the bill would expand the state's definition of child abuse and neglect to include parental dissent on those hot button sexuality issues. So if the child, this is from Guzman, and I'm quoting, if the child shares with those mandated reporters what they are going through, we are talking about not only physical abuse, but mental abuse. What the job of that mandated reporter is to inform child protective services. This is insane. Guzman, who represents House District 31, guys, make sure you defeat her whenever she's up for re-election, which includes portions of Prince William and Fauquier counties insisted that the bill does not involve, quote, criminalizing parents. Well, yes, it does. But rather, she says, educating parents, because the law tells you the do's and the don'ts. See, so the laws that lefties come up with supersede your God-given rights. God gave you those children. He didn't give these children, your children, to Guzman and to evil people on the left like Elizabeth Guzman. This lady is sick. This lady is twisted. The reason why I keep bringing up abortion and infanticide is, think about this. These people don't even want you to have kids. Yet, once you have kids, they want to make sure that they control them. Have your own freaking kids if you want to control kids. She goes on to say, so this law is telling you, do not abuse your children because they are LGBTQ. Now, the people that are doing the abusing, and thank God this lady in San Diego spoke out, and I really appreciate the way she did it. She was on Tucker last week. I forgot her name, but basically, man, she's talking about how the left and the school board members are literally pimping out. Mother eviscerates school board's decision to hold family-friendly drag show. And she talks about how the school board members are pimping out children to the LGBTQ community, hypersexualizing them. And I appreciate her using such strong language because we need to push back against this stuff. This is child abuse. Over-sexualizing your kids. What if your kids want to be Aquaman? Or what if your kids want to be the Little Mermaid at 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, and they think they can hold their breath underwater for 10 minutes? Do we let them do that? No, because we understand that there are serious consequences, right? These kids that are going to have chapatocophamies and or mess with their girls that are going to mess with their body parts and their inner workings, if you will, their lives are going to be destroyed forever. These people won't be able to have children. Their minds, more than likely, when they get older, will change. The vast majority of people that are that suffer with gender dysphoria end up feeling comfortable with just a bit of counseling, or with age end up feeling comfortable in their own skin. But what happens when these kids who expected adults to protect them all of a sudden can no longer, they expected adults to protect them, and now they're stuck. They're stuck with their choices. So they can't have family. You don't think they'll get depressed, sink into depression, and likely commit suicide? And you got to be kidding yourself. This lady, Elizabeth Guzman, is on the top of the list for abuse, for child abuse. Now, this is from Rasmussen. I'm telling you, Democrats are in trouble. As long as you show up, don't make this as don't leave this race to anyone else. Don't leave it to anyone else. If you have time to volunteer, I don't always have time to volunteer. People ask me, I don't always have time. Hopefully closer to the election, I'll have a little more time where I can go out and do something, hold some signs. But you can do little things. You can donate. If you've not done that before, you can put signs in your yard. Whatever you can do something. My friends, the American Adversaries here in Orlando, they say vote plus. I really love that saying. You got to vote, plus you got to do something else. Maybe it's driving somebody to the polls like you've never done before. Maybe it's sharing some of the policies of the Democrat Party that'll turn them off, just questioning them, not in an aggressive manner, but questioning them. And did you know this? Did you know this? Did you know? Are you concerned about this? Well, if you are, maybe you should consider voting Republican this election cycle. Or what have you. But here's from the generic ballot of Rasmussen. This is really good news. The GOP now have a 7-point lead. All right. So the 2022 midterm elections are just 25 days away. That was as of Friday. So it's even closer now, just 3 weeks away. And Republicans have a 7-point lead in their bid to recapture the control of Congress. So it says here, if the elections for Congress were held today, here's what it would look like. 48% of likely U.S. voters would vote for the Republican candidate, while 41% will vote for the Democrats. All right. So just 4% will vote for some other candidate, which I understand, but is a big mistake, especially considering how radical the left has become. Another 7% are not sure. All right. The GOP lead is up 3 points from last week. Now, keep in mind what they do, what Rasmussen Reports does. They update the generic congressional ballot every week, Friday at 10:30 a.m. So from last week, the GOP lead is up 3 points. All right. So now you're seeing toss-up races in Washington. You're seeing toss-up races in New York for the governorship between Lee Zeldin and the nanny of New York, and corrupt governor already of New York, Kathy Hochul. But it says here the GOP lead is up 3 points from last week. Then when they led 47 to 43 points, Republicans have led the generic congressional ballot all year, although their lead has narrowed since mid-July when they led by as much as 10 points. Even Obama came out warning the Democrat Party. I don't know if you guys heard of this, but he came out warning the Democrat Party, man, stick to kitchen table issues. Now, he doesn't mean it. He's just speaking of narrative. He says the Democrat Party is focusing way too much, and I'm paraphrasing, but they're focusing way too much on Donald Trump instead of focusing on the issues, the kitchen table issues that are upsetting a bunch of Americans. And he's absolutely right. I hate to agree with Obama, but he's absolutely right in that sense. Here's a recap of 2018. In October of 2018, before voters handed Democrats their first majority in 8 years, Democrats and Republicans were tied at 45%. So now you understand why this large gap is very significant heading in. So Republicans were up, earlier in a year by as much as 10 points, and then the Democrats closed that gap on the generic congressional ballot. But now the Republican Party is gaining momentum again. We'll have to see where things end up this week. But as of now, it doesn't look good for Democrats because, thank God, Republicans are gaining momentum. Again, to recap, in October 2018, before voters handed Democrats their first House majority in years, Democrats and Republicans were tied at 45% each in the generic ballot. The margin was still a statistical dead heat. Republicans 46, Democrats 45%. In the final poll before Democrats won a slim House majority, while Republicans gained Senate seats to maintain control of that chamber. All right. Here's how the poll was conducted. The survey of 2,500 U.S. likely voters, that's a pretty good sample size, was conducted on October 9th through 13th of this year. By Rasmussen. The margin of sampling error is plus or minus 2 percentage points, which is good. That has a 95% level of confidence. All right. So the GOP have a huge lead amongst independents. So this is very important. The expanded Republican lead is due mainly to a 16-point advantage among independent voters. 85% of Republican voters say they would vote for their own party's congressional candidate. Really, just 85%. While 82% of Democrats would vote for the Democratic candidate. Hopefully people are just still checked out, or maybe people are just so tired of politics and they feel so discouraged by what's happening in this country. They don't care their vote, but you better wake up. Number 4, among voters not affiliated with either major party, 46% said they would vote Republican. So of that 16% break, 46% of those said that they would vote Republican, and 30% would vote Democrat. That is a huge split. While 9% said they would vote for some other candidates, and 15% are undecided. The people that are undecided are the people that, I'm sorry, they're either clueless or they don't want to admit that they were wrong about their vote for Biden a couple of years back. Now, here's a breakdown by race. 52% of whites, 27% of black voters, and 45% of other minorities would vote Republican if the election were held today. 27% of black voters. Now, when it comes to black voters, I hate to say this, but it's true. I see these large numbers and I'm like, let's wait until election day. But now, listen, I'm okay with victory by attrition when it comes to the black community. Maybe black voters simply won't show up in the midterm elections because they're so disgruntled with the Democrat Party. I'll take that. All right. I will absolutely take that. But if we were to get 27% of the black vote, my jaws would drop. I would certainly be happy, but there's no doubt my jaws would drop. But nonetheless, while 27% shows that more blacks are becoming disgruntled with the Democrat Party, and that is a good thing. Again, 45% of other minorities will vote Republican if the election were held today. That bodes very badly for the Democrat Party because there is a Latino exodus from the Democrat Party as well. 58% of black voters, 38% of white voters, and 42% of other voters would vote Democrat. So 58% of black vote. Now that's a huge discrepancy. So we'll see what happens with the black vote. All right. The gender gap has widened too, according to the generic congressional ballot, with men now at 53%, 10 points more likely than women voters at 43% to prefer Republican congressional candidates. The gap was 2 points last week. Wow. That's big. 10-point gap. It was 2 points last week. That's a serious trend toward the Republican Party. So voters under 40 favors the Democrat by a 12% margin, 47% to 35%. But voters ages 40 to 64 favor Republicans, 52 to 39%. And the GOP lead is 18 points, 56% to 38% among voters that are 65 and older, which is the Social Security class, or getting into the Social Security class. Now, here's a big switch that I want you guys to be aware of. And this is what Democrats have to fear as well, because they have become the party of the elite. That's what I wanted to bring your attention to. When Joe Biden, when I told you, Joe Biden is completely out of touch. It's not just him, because he's just the face of the Democrat Party. Joe Biden is completely out of touch. But here's the big switch. This is breaking down the electorate by income categories. Democrats led by 12 points, 51 and 39% among voters with annual incomes over 200,000. The wokeness is working. See, these rich people, they're still virtue signaling. They don't go to church. They don't believe in God, or they really don't have an understanding of God. So they find their morality in being woke. And that's exactly what's happening. So the Democrats, again, lead by 12 points, 51 to 39% among voters with annual incomes of over 200,000. That's why the left wants to send people to college, so they can brainwash them. While Republicans have a 12-point advantage among those earning between 30 and 50,000 blue-collar workers. The party has switched. That's the big switch. Now, here's with employees, trip off of this. Republicans now hold strong majorities among both government employees and retirees, while private sector workers are almost evenly divided, with 44% Democrats and 43% Republicans. Can you believe that? The Republicans hold a strong majority among both government employees and retirees. Maybe it's government employees that are tired of seeing how the Biden administration and how the Democrat Party has weaponized the DOJ, perhaps. It could be. Now, the economy is still the top issue, but I'm telling you, the economy may win us Republicans this year's vote. But I want you to prepare, because next year, the economy is going to get worse. The economy is going to get worse. Everything that we're feeling now, we're going to feel a lot worse in the next year or more. And so Republicans are going to control the House. They may even control the Senate. Who do you think is going to get the blame if Biden is still in the White House, or Democrats are still controlling the White House? Obviously, in order to try to keep the White House in 2024 or after 2024 and try to regain Congress in 2024, they're going to completely lie about the Republican Party. The only thing the Republican Party can do when they get in office is slow down the spending. That's what we want them to do. So hopefully you can get a breather from going completely broke. They can make things very difficult on Joe Biden and the Democrat Party and some of these committees as well. They can do investigations on some of the corruption that has been going on, all of these things that they can expose. But you can bet your bottom dollar that these left-wing radicals in the media isn't going to bring that to our attention, to many of people's voters' attentions. And you know that the presidential race is starting November 9th, essentially, right? So another thing that we have to keep in mind, it isn't just the economy. Even though the economy is the number one thing, Republicans have to fight this culture war. They have to push back against wokeness. They have to push back against this gender identity crisis, the trans crisis. They have to push back about the systemic racism being implemented, and not just in academia, but in corporations across the country with the CRT and diversity, equity, and inclusion and all this kind of stuff. Republicans have to push back against this stuff because the Democrat Party has become evil. There's one last clip that I want to play for you. Gabe, do we have that clip ready of Biden's? All right. So if you're watching, I hope you guys please subscribe to the podcast and watch us on YouTube and Rumble. Subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and that way you can watch our videos. But I want to play this final clip of Biden. This guy is a sicko, and the left has become full of sickos. I talked to you about that chick, Elizabeth Guzman, that exists in House District, I believe it is 31 of Virginia. Guys, please make sure you defeat her when her time is up. This is a sick puppy that wants to make parents felons if they refuse to, if their little girl comes to him and says, you know, oh, Jenny wants to be Johnny, and comes to her parents at 5 years old and says, you know, she wants a sex change, the parents have to abide by it. No, your children belong to you. They were given to you by God. They don't belong to the federal government. But this is why we have to control these cultural issues too. Here's the sick Joe Biden. I just want to leave you with this, the pervert that he is. All right, let's go ahead and just roll the clip here again.
Now, the very important thing I told my daughter and granddaughters, no serious guys till you're 30.
Okay.
Right?
No what?
No serious guys till you're 30.
I'll keep that in mind. At least.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all, is it? Getting into a young girl's personal space and telling her not to have any boyfriends until she's 30. And look at how the alarmed Secret Service dude tries to stop this being taped once he sees that Joe has reverted back to this peculiar behaviour. Because
all right, we can cut the tape there. All right, so the bottom line is that this guy is Creepy Joe. We don't want adult men messing with our little girls and with our children. Biden being a great example of that. And if you watch the video, it is completely creepy. What's so creepy about it is, remember, this guy is senile now. Look how comfortable he is getting up in this little girl's space, getting so close to her head and her hair coming up behind her. It's really creepy. It's really sick. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts are found. You can go to thecarljacksonshow.com. Make sure you put the word "the" in front. Also, you can go to SalemPodcastNetwork.com or anywhere our podcasts are found. Find me on social media, The Carl Jackson Show. And please, please, please support our friends at MyPillow. Support Mike Lindell, the great patriot that he is, fighting for election integrity. That's MyPillow.com. Click on that radio listener square, use the promo code Carl, and get hooked up with the deals that are available to you. Huge discounts, all right, on Giza Dream Sheets, Perkel bed sheets, 3-piece towel set. Huge, huge discounts. Take advantage of that. MyPillow.com, radio listener square. Click on that. Use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call, 1-800-858-0263. Until next time, guys, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.